The main screen on the bridge of the earthen olive branch showed a massive alien ship. Captain Do-hyun Park sat in his command chair, his face calm, even though his heart beat fast. The alien ship was 5 times bigger than his own vessel. Its item, dark metal hull was covered with weapons that could destroy Earth if their owners wanted to. "They're calling again, Captain," said Mina Lee, the communications officer. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook slightly. "Put them on screen," Do-hyun said, sitting up straight. The screen changed to show Admiral Kazakh of the Galactic Hegemony. The alien had green scales instead of skin, yellow eyes with narrow black slits for pupils, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. He wore a black uniform with gold symbols showing his high rank. "Human," said Kazakh, not bothering with polite greetings. "Your time runs out. Will Earth join the hegemony as our newest protected world?" What Kazakh meant by protected was really controlled. The hegemony had arrived 3 days ago with 50 warships. They now floated above Earth's major cities like New York, Tokyo, and London. Their message was simple: join us or die. "Admiral," Do-hyun said politely, "we still need time to talk with all Earth nations. This is a big decision." Kazakh's mouth formed what might have been a smile, but looked more like he was about to bite something. "You have 24 hours. After that, we will show your people why resistance is foolish." "I understand," Do-hyun said. "You should," Kazakh continued. "Your species is young, just 100 years using faster than light travel. You cannot hope to fight us. We have ruled the stars for 3,000 years. The screen went dark. Do-hyun turned to face his bridge crew. 6 humans looked back at him, all wearing the blue and silver uniforms of United Earth Space Command. "They really think we're that young?" asked Sunho Choi, the young man who controlled the ship's movements. "That's what we wanted them to think," said Jiwoo Kim, the first officer. She stood beside Do-hyun's chair, her arms crossed. The plan worked. Too well. Do-hyun stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Earth looked peaceful and blue, but he knew that on the surface, people were scared. News of alien ships had caused panic in many places. "Mina," he said, "send a message to the United Earth Council. Tell them it's time to use the Guardian Protocol." Everyone on the bridge became very quiet. Hana Kang, the ship's doctor, gasped. "Is that real?" asked Taejun Yoon, the engineer. "I thought it was just a story they told new recruits." "It's real," Do-hyun said. "I've seen them." He remembered when he was just a young officer. His first commander had taken him deep under the moon's surface, to a secret base. There, floating in a massive hidden hangar, Do-hyun had seen what humanity had been hiding for thousands of years. "Sunho, set course for Luna Base," Do-hyun ordered. "Authorization code, Ancient Guardian 793. "Yes, sir," Sunho replied, his fingers moving quickly over the controls. Jiwoo stepped closer to Do-hyun, speaking softly so only he could hear. "Are you sure about this? Once we show what we have, everything changes. The hegemony will know we lied. If we don't, there won't be an Earth left to protect," Do-hyun replied. "Better they know the truth than think they can destroy us." As the ship turned toward Earth's moon, Do-hyun thought about humanity's greatest secret. The truth was that humans had traveled through space for much longer than anyone in the galaxy knew. Long ago, nearly 3,000 years before, humanity had built its first great fleet. They had explored many star systems and met other intelligent species, but those early explorers had seen something troubling. They watched how the newly formed hegemony treated powerful species, either as dangerous enemies to be destroyed or as rivals to be conquered. So humanity's leaders had made a difficult choice. They hid their true power. They destroyed most evidence of their advanced civilization, saved their best technology in secret places, and pretended to be much less developed than they really were. When humans officially joined the galactic community just 100 years ago, they acted like they had just figured out faster than light travel. The hegemony and other alien groups treated humans like children, new to the stars and not important. This was exactly what humanity wanted. It kept Earth safe while they watched and learned more about the dangerous galaxy around them. But now the hegemony had come to conquer Earth, thinking humans were weak. It was time to show them how wrong they were. "Message from Earth Council, Captain," Mina said. "Guardian protocol is approved. We are ordered to proceed to Luna Base immediately." "Good," Do-hyun said. "How long until we arrive?" 20 minutes, sir," Sun-ho answered. Do-hyun nodded and turned to his crew. "What we're about to do will change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. For 3,000 years we've hidden our strength. After today we can't go back to pretending." "What exactly are we going to do, Captain?" asked Tana. "We're going to wake up the Eternal Fleet," Do-hyun said. "The most powerful warships ever built by human hands." Ji-woo smiled. Ships that were already ancient when the hegemony was just beginning. The Earth and Olive Branch accelerated toward the moon. Below them, the alien vessels continued to orbit Earth, their crews confident in their superior power, unaware of what was about to happen. Do-hyun looked at the small device on his wrist. It wasn't just a watch, it was a special key, passed down through generations of his family. His great-great-grandfather had worn it, and before him, countless ancestors going back thousands of years. It was one of many keys needed to awaken what slept beneath the moon's surface. "Approaching Luna Base," Sun-ho announced, hidden entrance coordinates locked in. As they neared the moon, a section of the gray surface seemed to shimmer and then disappear, revealing a massive opening. The ship slowed and entered the secret passage. "Send the old codes," Do-hyun ordered. Mina pressed several buttons. "Sending. Authentication codes now." Lights came on along the tunnel walls as they flew deeper into the moon. After several minutes, they emerged into an enormous cave. The ship's lights barely reached the distant walls. "Take us down," Do-hyun said. As the ship descended, everyone on the bridge gasped. Below them, filling the enormous space, were hundreds of massive warships. Their black hulls gleamed in the dim light, decorated with gold designs showing ancient battles. These weren't the simple vessels that Earth officially used. These were huge machines built for war, created in an age when humans first walked among the stars. "The Eternal Fleet," whispered Ji-woo. "And now," said Do-hyun, "it's time to show the galaxy what humanity has been hiding." The massive underground hangar was cold and dim. Captain Do-hyun Park led his crew from the Earth and Olive Branch down the ramp onto the dusty floor. Their footsteps echoed in the huge space. Above them, hundreds of ancient warships hung in perfect rows, held in place by invisible energy fields. "I can't believe they're real," said Mina Lee, looking up with wide eyes. "The Eternal Fleet. I thought they were just stories." "Very real," said a new voice. The crew turned to see an older woman walking toward them. She wore a dark blue uniform with gold trim that looked different from their own. Her silver hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her face showed both strength and wisdom earned over many years. "Admiral Tae-hee Song," Do-hyun said, standing straight and giving her a formal salute. The rest of the crew quickly did the same. "At ease," Tae-hee said with a small smile. "We don't have time for formalities. The hegemony has given Earth 24 hours before they attack." "Then we need to wake the fleet," said Ji-woo Kim, looking up at the closest ship. It was at least 5 times bigger than their vessel, with a sleek black hull decorated with gold symbols. "Follow me," Tae-hee said, turning and walking toward a platform that led up to the nearest ship. As they walked, Sun-ho Choi moved closer to the captain. "Sir, how is this possible? These ships look brand new, but they must be 3,000 years old," Do-hyun finished for him. "From the first human expansion, before the Great Hiding." The Great Hiding was not taught in most schools. Only those with high security clearance knew the full story of how humanity had hidden its true history from the galaxy. They reached the platform and stepped onto it. It began to rise, taking them up to a large door on the side of the closest ship. As they got closer, symbols on the hull began to glow with soft blue light. "The ships are waking up," Tae-hee explained. "They can sense the keys." Do-hyun touched the device on his wrist, and Tae-hee showed a similar one. Ji-woo reached into her collar and pulled out a small pendant that glowed with the same blue light. You have a key too? Do-hyun asked, surprised. My grandmother gave it to me before she died, Ji-woo said. She told me I would know when to use it. Tae-hee nodded. The keys were spread among many families, a safety measure to make sure the fleet could never be awakened by just one person. The platform stopped at the entrance to the ship. The door slid open silently, revealing a dark hallway inside. Welcome to the Eternal Vengeance, Tae-hee said. The flagship of humanity's ancient fleet. They walked inside, and lights came on, automatically as they moved through the corridor. The inside of the ship was clean and looked new, with smooth metal walls and floors. How have these ships stayed in such good condition? Asked Hanakang the doctor, running her hand along a wall. No dust, no decay. Time-lock technology, Tae-hee explained. Inside these hangars, time moves much slower. For the ships, only a few months have passed since they were hidden away. They reached a large door at the end of the corridor. Tae-hee placed her hand on a panel beside it, and the door slid open to reveal the bridge of the ship. It was much bigger than the bridge of their own vessel. A large window at the front showed the hangar outside. Control panels lined the walls, and in the center was a raised platform with a single chair. The captain's seat, Tae-hee said, looking at Do-hyun. It's yours now. Mine? Do-hyun asked, surprised. But you're an admiral. I'm the guardian of the fleet, Tae-hee corrected. But the records show your family line has commanded the Eternal Vengeance since it was built. The ship will respond. Best to you. Do-hyun walked slowly to the chair and sat down. As soon as he did, the entire bridge came to life. Screens lit up on every wall, showing information about the ship's systems. A soft hum filled the air as engines that had been sleeping for thousands of years began to power up. Amazing, whispered Taejun Yoon, the engineer, as he looked at one of the control panels. The technology is still advanced by today's standards, maybe even more advanced. Our ancestors were smarter than we give them credit for, Ji-woo said, taking a seat at one of the stations. Somehow she seemed to know exactly where to go. The ship recognizes the key bearers, Tae-hee explained, seeing Do-hyun's surprised look. It knows who belongs where. The rest of the crew found their places as if guided by invisible hands. Mina at communications, Sunho at navigation, Taejun at engineering, and Hana at a station labeled Ship Welfare in ancient characters. How do we wake the rest of the fleet? Do-hyun asked, his hands resting on the arms of the captain's chair. They felt warm under his touch, as if the ship itself was alive. We don't need to, Tae-hee said. Once the flagship is fully awake, it will send the signal to the others. As if on cue, lights began to come on throughout the hangar. One by one, the other ships started to glow with the same soft blue light. Outside the window, they could see movement as ancient systems came online. The fleet is awakening, Tae-hee said, her voice filled with emotion. After 3,000 years of sleep, a large screen appeared in front of Do-hyun, showing the status of each ship in the fleet. 300 vessels, each with its own name and history. The Eternal Shield, the Stellar Guardian, the Memory of Earth, and many more. What about crews? Do-hyun asked. We can't run all these ships with just the people here. We don't need to, Tae-hee replied. Watch. Throughout the hangar, small doors were opening on the sides of each ship. From inside, figures began to emerge. They weren't human, but robots with smooth silver bodies. Mechanical crews, Tae-hee explained. Another innovation from our ancestors. Each ship has a core human crew of key bearers, but most functions can be performed by these helpers. So what now? Asked Mina, her hands moving over her control panel as if she had used it all her life. Now, said Do-hyun, feeling the power of the ancient ship humming around him. We show the hegemony that they made a terrible mistake. They thought they were threatening a young, weak species. It's time they learned the truth. He pressed a button on his chair arm, and a map of Earth and its surroundings appeared before him. The hegemony ships were shown as red dots in orbit around the planet. Admiral Tae-hee, how long until the fleet is ready? Do-hyun asked. The ships are at 90% power now, she replied, checking a display. The hangar doors can open in 5 minutes. 10 minutes after that, we can launch. Do-hyun nodded and looked at his crew. Their faces showed a mix of excitement and nervousness. They were about to change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. Send a message to Earth Council, he ordered Mina. Tell them the Eternal Fleet will launch in 15 minutes. Ask them to prepare for the revelation. As Mina sent the message, Do-hyun stood up and walked to the window. Outside, hundreds of ancient warships were now fully awake, their engines glowing with blue fire, ready to show the galaxy what humanity had been, hiding for 3,000 years. It's time, he said quietly. Time to reveal our true strength. Admiral Kazakh sat in his command chair on the bridge of the hegemony's glory. His scaled fingers tapped impatiently on the armrest. On the main screen, he watched Earth turning slowly below his fleet. Such a blue planet, so full of water and life. Soon it would join the hundreds of other worlds under hegemony control. Admiral, said his second-in-command, the humans are requesting more time again. Kazakh made a hissing sound that showed his annoyance. Put them on screen. The image changed, to show Captain Do-hyun Park. The human looked different now, wearing a dark uniform with gold trim that Kazakh had not seen before. Admiral Kazakh, Do-hyun said politely. Thank you for speaking with me again. You waste my time, Kazakh replied. Your deadline ends in 3 hours. Have you come to accept our terms? Actually, said Do-hyun, I thought you might want to check your long-range scanners. Kazakh frowned and nodded to his sensor officer. The alien turned to his controls, then suddenly stood up straight, his eyes wide with shock. Admiral, massive energy readings coming from behind the human moon. What? Kazakh turned back to the screen where Do-hyun was now smiling. What trickery is this? No tricks, Do-hyun said calmly. Just a revelation. The image on Kazakh's screen split to show what was happening behind Earth's moon. A huge opening had appeared on the moon's surface. From inside this opening, ships were emerging. Not small ships like the ones humans normally used, but massive warships with black hulls decorated with gold. One after another they came, forming a perfect line in space. Impossible! Shouted Kazakh, standing up from his chair. Your species has only achieved space travel in the last century. A carefully crafted lie, replied Do-hyun. Humanity has walked among the stars for much longer than we let anyone know. On the bridge of the eternal vengeance, Do-hyun nodded to Ji-woo Kim. She pressed several buttons on her control panel, sending a signal to all the other ships in the Eternal Fleet. As one, the ancient vessels moved forward, emerging fully from their hiding place and forming a massive wall between Earth and the hegemony ships. 300 ships, Mina Lee reported from her station. All at full power and ready for your orders, Captain. Do-hyun turned to Admiral Tae-hee. Time to show them who we really are. Tae-hee nodded and pressed a button on her wrist device. Accessing historical records now, all across the galaxy. On every communication channel, images began to appear. They showed human ships traveling through distant star systems thousands of years ago. They showed the building of the Eternal Fleet, the establishment of hidden bases throughout the galaxy, and then the deliberate destruction of evidence as humanity erased its true history. 3,000 years ago, Do-hyun explained to Kazakh, whose scaled face showed complete shock. Our ancestors saw how the newly formed hegemony treated powerful species, either as threats to be destroyed or as rivals to be controlled. So they made a choice. Admiral Tae-hee continued the explanation, her voice now broadcasting to not just Kazakh's ship, but to the entire hegemony leadership who had quickly joined the communication. We hid our true capabilities. We destroyed most evidence of our advanced civilization, saved our best technologies in secret, and pretended to be newcomers to the galactic community. On his ship, Kazakh sank back into his chair. The screens showed more and more evidence of humanity's ancient presence in space. There were images of human explorers walking on worlds that the hegemony had only discovered centuries later. There were recordings of human scientists developing technologies that the hegemony still did not possess. These vessels, he said, looking at the massive fleet that now protected Earth, they must be. They are older than your empire, confirmed Do-hyun. They were ancient when your ancestors were still climbing out of the swamps on your homeworld. The Eternal Fleet continued to move into position. Each ship was at least 3 times larger than the biggest hegemony vessel. Their black hulls seemed to absorb the light from the nearby sun, making them look like holes in space. Only the gold decorations caught the light, glinting like stars against the darkness. "Captain," Sun Ho Choi called from his station, "all ships are in position. The hegemony fleet is completely surrounded." Do-hyun nodded and turned back to face Kazakh on the screen. "Now, Admiral, I think it's time for a new conversation. One between equals." Kazakh's yellow eyes narrowed. "What do you want?" "The hegemony. Council," Do-hyun replied. "I want to speak with all of them now." Kazakh hissed again but gave a signal to someone off-screen. A moment later, the image changed to show a large room where 7 aliens of different species sat around a curved table. They were the leaders of the galactic hegemony, the most powerful beings in known space. Now they all stared at Do-hyun with expressions ranging from shock to anger to fear. "Greetings, council members," Do-hyun said. "I am Captain Do-hyun Park of the Earth vessel Eternal Vengeance, flagship of humanity's Eternal Fleet. I believe we need to discuss the future relationship between Earth and the hegemony." The oldest member of the council, a Zelnar like Kazakh but with faded scales showing his great age, leaned forward. "You have hidden your true nature from the galaxy for thousands of years. Why reveal yourselves now?" "Because you gave us no choice," Do-hyun answered. "You came to our world with threats of destruction if we did not submit to your rule. We would have preferred to maintain our secret longer, to observe your civilization, and decide if you were worthy of knowing our true history." As Do-hyun spoke, more of the historical records continued to play on screens throughout hegemony space. Billions of aliens on hundreds of worlds watched as the truth about humanity was revealed. Many were frightened by the knowledge that such a powerful species had been hiding among them. Others were curious about what else humans might be hiding. "We have lived peacefully among you for centuries," Admiral Tae-hee added. "We have traded, shared knowledge, and learned about your cultures. We chose to appear weak not because we feared you, but because we wanted to know who you truly were before revealing ourselves." The council members looked at each other, clearly unsure how to respond. Finally, the eldest spoke again. "What are your demands, humans? Will you now try to conquer the hegemony with your ancient fleet?" Do-hyun shook his head. "No, we have never sought conquest. What we want is simple: recognition of Earth's independence and equal standing in galactic affairs. No more treating us as a young, weak species to be controlled or protected. We wish to be acknowledged as what we truly are, one of the oldest, spacefaring civilizations in the galaxy." As he finished speaking, the Eternal Fleet moved closer to the hegemony ships, not threatening, but clearly showing their superior power. The message was clear. Humanity had been hiding its strength for thousands of years, and now the galaxy would have to accept a new reality. The time for pretending was over. The Eternal Fleet surrounded the hegemony forces in a perfect circle. The ancient human warships moved with grace despite their massive size. On the command deck of the flagship, Eternal Vengeance, Captain Do-hyun Park stood tall as he faced not just Admiral Kazakh, but the entire Hegemony Council on the main screen. "For centuries we have watched you," Do-hyun said. His voice was calm but firm. "We have seen how you expand into new star systems. We have watched how you treat developing worlds. We have observed your use of resources." The 7 council members sat in silence. The oldest Zelnar, Chancellor Lyrax, had his clawed hands folded in front of him. His yellow eyes never left Do-hyun's face. "While you believed us to be newcomers to space," Admiral Tae-hee added, "we were studying your civilization. We wanted to know if you deserved to know our true nature." Mina Lee worked at her station, making sure their message reached every corner of hegemony space. The other human crew members monitored their systems as more ships emerged from hidden bases throughout the galaxy. These were outposts that humanity had established thousands of years ago and maintained in secret. Sun Ho Choi looked up from his screens. "Captain, we now have 500 ships in total, reports coming in from bases in the Orion Arm, the Perseus Arm, and even the Galactic Core." Do-hyun nodded and turned back to the council. We have lived among you, hidden in plain sight. We have been your traitors, your visitors, your allies, all while you never knew our true power. Chancellor Lyrax finally spoke. His voice was deep and raspy with age. What do you want from us humans? You have shown your strength. Now state your terms. Our terms are simple, Admiral Tahi said. The hegemony will immediately withdraw. All ships from Earth space. You will recognize Earth as an independent world, not under your control. And you will enter new diplomatic relations with us, not as rulers, but as equals. The council members looked at each other. A tall, thin alien with blue skin leaned forward, and if we refuse, Ji-woo Kim nodded to Do-hyun. It was time for the demonstration. Do-hyun pressed a button on his command chair. We would prefer peaceful relations, but we are prepared to defend ourselves if necessary. Please observe. One of the smaller human vessels moved away from the main fleet. It positioned itself near a small uninhabited moon in the system. A beam of golden light shot out from the ship, touching the surface of the moon. The rock didn't explode or break apart. Instead, it simply vanished, converted entirely into energy that rippled outward as a wave of light. Gasps came from the council members. The blue alien skin paled to a lighter shade. That technology has been banned for thousands of years, said one of the council members, a squat creature with multiple eyes. Banned by whom? Asked Do-hyun quietly. The prohibition came from us after we saw what this weapon could do. We chose not to use such power, not because we couldn't, but because we understood the responsibility it carried. The bridge was silent for a moment. Outside the viewports, the remains of the moon glittered like stardust spreading out among the stars. We offer friendship, Admiral Tahi said, stepping forward. But we will not be conquered. Humanity has hidden its strength for millennia, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Chancellor Lyrax studied them for a long moment. His ancient eyes seemed to look beyond the screen, taking in the full meaning of what had happened today. You could have revealed yourselves at any time. You could have taken control of the galaxy with ships like these. Why stay hidden for so long? Because true strength isn't about control, Do-hyun answered. It's about restraint. Our ancestors saw how easily power corrupts. They chose to hide our capabilities so that we would not be tempted to dominate others. Mina's console beeped. Captain, we're receiving messages from hundreds of worlds across the galaxy. Many are from planets under hegemony control. They've seen our broadcast and they're asking for help. Do-hyun looked at Tae-hee, who nodded slightly. They had expected this. Chancellor, Do-hyun said, your empire has grown by forcing weaker species to serve you. Many of these worlds didn't join the hegemony by choice. They were given the same choice you gave Earth. Join or be destroyed. The council members shifted uncomfortably. What Do-hyun said was true, and now the whole galaxy knew it. What happens now? Asked Chancellor Lyrax. Will you use our moment of weakness to break apart the hegemony? To free these worlds? That isn't our goal, Do-hyun replied. We don't wish to destroy what you've built, but we do wish to help create something better. A new system where worlds join together as equals, not as rulers and servants. On his tactical display, Sun-ho showed how the human fleet had completely surrounded the hegemony forces. The message was clear. Resistance would be pointless. We propose a new beginning, Admiral Tae-hee said. A galactic concord to replace the hegemony, a place where all spacefaring species can meet as equals, where cooperation replaces control. Chancellor Lyrax leaned back in his chair. For several long moments he said nothing. The other council members looked to him, waiting for his decision. Finally he spoke. You have hidden warships older than our empire, he said slowly. You have technology we cannot match. You could destroy us now if you wished. Yet you offer peace. He paused, his scaled hands moving to touch a small symbol on his chest. I have ruled for 200 years. Perhaps it is time for change. The tension on the bridge of the eternal vengeance eased slightly. Do-hyun and Tae-hee exchanged hopeful glances. The hegemony forces will withdraw from Earth space, Chancellor Lyrax announced. I will call an emergency session of representatives from all worlds in our territory. We will discuss this galactic concord you propose. Do-hyun nodded. A wise decision, Chancellor. Do not mistake wisdom for lack of choice, Lyrax replied, but there was no anger in his voice. Your ancestors chose to hide their power. Mine chose to expand ours. Both paths have led us here to this moment of change. As the communication ended, the crew of the Eternal Vengeance let out breaths they hadn't realized they were holding. Outside, the hegemony ships were already beginning to move away from Earth. It worked, Jiwoo said quietly. They're actually backing down. They're practical, Tae-hee replied. They know when they're outmatched. Do-hyun walked to the viewport and looked out at the stars. For 3,000 years, humanity had hidden its true nature from the galaxy. Now, in a single day, everything had changed. This is just the beginning, he said. The hard part comes next. What's that? Asked Mina. Living up to the ideals we just proclaimed, Do-hyun answered. Building a better galaxy, together. 1 month had passed since the day humanity revealed its true power to the galaxy. Captain Do-hyun Park stood in the grand meeting hall of the newly formed Galactic Concord. The massive room was built on a neutral space station orbiting a star at the edge of what was once hegemony space. Representatives from over 100 worlds filled the chamber, their voices creating a constant background hum as they discussed the future. Do-hyun wore his formal uniform, the dark blue and gold of Earth's ancient fleet. Beside him stood Admiral Tae-hee Song and his first officer Jiwoo Kim. They watched as Chancellor Lyrax of the Zelnar, now the interim leader of the Concord, called the meeting to order. Representatives of the galaxy, Lyrax said, his aged voice carrying across the hall. 1 month ago, our understanding of history changed forever. We learned that humans, a species we thought was young to the stars, had in fact been traveling space for thousands of years. The room grew quiet. Many of the aliens looked toward Do-hyun and the other humans present, some with curiosity, others with respect, and a few with fear. The human deception was complete, Lyrax continued. For 3,000 years they lived, among us as if they were newcomers while hiding their true power. They maintained ancient warships and bases throughout the galaxy, watching and waiting. Former Admiral Kazakh, now serving as a regular representative of the Zelnar, stood up. What I still do not understand, Captain Park, is why. Why hide such strength for so long? You could have ruled the galaxy if you wished. Do-hyun stepped forward to the speaking platform. His voice was calm and clear as he addressed the gathering. My ancestors saw what happens when power is flaunted, he explained. They watched as the early hegemony forced other species to choose between submission or destruction. They feared that if humanity revealed its full strength, we would either be seen as a threat to be eliminated or we would be tempted to become conquerors ourselves. Do-hyun looked around the room, meeting the eyes of different representatives. So they made a choice, he continued. They hid our true history. They preserved our most advanced technologies in secret. They presented us as a young species, just beginning to explore beyond our home system. All so we could observe and learn without the corruption that often comes with great power. A representative from a small world called Vexus stood up. Kak's alien had 4 arms and skin that changed colors with emotion. Currently, it was a deep purple of confusion. But how did you maintain this secret for so long? The alien asked. Surely someone would have discovered your hidden bases or ancient records. Jiwoo stepped forward to answer. Our ancestors were very careful. They destroyed most physical evidence of our advanced civilization. They hid bases in remote locations, or inside moons and asteroids, and they passed down the truth only to selected families generation after generation. Each key bearer, Admiral Tae-hee added, knows only part of the secret. I knew about the Luna base, but not about the outposts in the Perseus Arm. Captain Park's family maintained the records of the flagship, but not of the medical technologies. This way, no single person could reveal everything if captured or questioned. Across the chamber, Mina Lee and Sunho Choi were working with a team of humans and aliens. They were adding humanity's hidden historical records to the galactic archives. The truth was amazing to many. Human exploration vessels had charted much of the galaxy long before most current species had achieved spaceflight. "Look at this," Mina said to an alien historian, showing him an ancient star chart. "Human ships mapped the Cygnus Arm 3,000 years ago. See these markings? They show worlds with developing life that were to be protected and not disturbed." Taejun Yoon, now serving as Earth's technology liaison, was showing a group of scientists some of the non-military advances that humanity had kept hidden. Medical techniques, energy production methods, and environmental restoration technologies that could benefit worlds across the galaxy. "This device," Taejun explained, holding up a small silver object, "can purify water contaminated with heavy metals or radiation. We've used it in secret to help worlds suffering from industrial pollution or natural disasters." "Without revealing who you were?" asked a scientist with translucent skin. Taejun nodded. "We would arrive as traders with new technology that we claim to have just discovered. We helped where we could without showing our true capabilities." "The Eternal Fleet will return to Luna Base," Admiral Taehi announced to the assembly. "The ships were built as guardians, not conquerors. We hope they will never be needed again." A representative from Naraxa, a world that had been one of the first forced to join the hegemony centuries ago, stood up. The alien was tall and thin, with 6 eyes arranged in a circle on its head. "But what guarantee do we have that humans won't use their power to replace the hegemony? To become the new rulers of the galaxy?" Jiwoo stepped forward to stand beside Do-hyun. "If we wanted to rule, we could have done so at any time in the past 3,000 years. We chose a different path then, and we choose it now. Look at our history," Do-hyun added. "When we found your worlds developing, did we conquer them? No. We watched in secret, sometimes helping from the shadows, but never imposing our will. We believe all species have the right to find their own path." Hana Kang, the doctor from Do-hyun's original crew, stood up from her seat among the medical representatives. "For thousands of years, we've collected knowledge about different species, biology, diseases, and treatments. We've used this knowledge to develop cures that we shared when epidemics struck, always disguising the true source. We didn't help to control. We helped because we could." Chancellor Lyrax moved to stand next to Do-hyun. Despite being from different species that until recently had been on the edge of war, they presented a united front. "Change will not come easily," Lyrax admitted. "The hegemony ruled for thousands of years. Many worlds knew no other way, but with humanity's help, we can create something better for future generations." After the formal meeting ended, Do-hyun walked through the station's observation deck. Through the large windows, he could see ships from dozens of worlds coming and going. Already, trade was increasing between formerly isolated planets as the restrictions of the hegemony faded away. Hana joined him at the window. "Captain, I've been working with medical teams from 15 different worlds. The knowledge we've shared has already saved thousands of lives on Teller 4. There was a disease there that was killing their children. We had the cure in our databases from a similar outbreak 2,000 years ago. That's what this is all about," Do-hyun replied with a smile. "Using our knowledge to help, not to control." Sunho approached with a data tablet. "Sir, we've received word from the exploratory vessel, New Horizon. They've made contact with a previously unknown species beyond the Perseus Arm. Their civilization is about as advanced as Earth was in your 20th century. They've invited them to join the conquered when they're ready." "As equals?" Do-hyun asked. "Yes, sir. No demands, no threats. Just an invitation and an offer of help with some environmental problems they're facing. We're sharing some of our hidden technology with them." Do-hyun nodded with satisfaction. This was what humanity had been waiting for, the chance to help build a better galaxy where cooperation replaced conquest. As night approached on the space station, artificial lights dimmed to simulate evening. Do-hyun stood on the command deck of the Eternal Vengeance, now renamed the Eternal Vigilance. It was one of the few ships from the ancient fleet that would remain active, serving as Earth's flagship in the new era, Jiwoo joined him as he looked out at the stars. Quite a month, she said. Everything has changed. Not everything, Do-hyun replied. Our mission remains the same as our ancestors intended, to protect life and freedom throughout the galaxy. But now we can do it openly, Jiwoo pointed out. No more hiding who we really are. No more secrets, Do-hyun agreed, looking at the Yao pendant she wore that contained one of the keys to the fleet. Though I'm not sure it will be easier. It won't be, said Admiral Tae-hee, entering the bridge. The hard part is just beginning. Creating something new always is. But at least now we can work together, all species, to shape a better future. Do-hyun thought about all that had happened. The revelation of humanity's true history had shocked the galaxy. The discovery that humans had been watching and waiting for thousands of years had frightened many. But now, as the first steps toward a more equal and just galactic community were being taken, he felt a sense of pride in what his species had accomplished. Our ancestors hid warships older than empires, he said quietly. But what they truly preserved was something far more important. What's that? Asked Jiwoo. Hope, Do-hyun answered, watching as ships from a dozen worlds peacefully traveled past his viewport. Hope for a better future for all species. And now at last, we can build that future together. As the Eternal Vigilance prepared to depart, for Earth, carrying representatives from 20 newly allied worlds, Do-hyun knew that the time of hiding was over. Humanity had revealed its true self to the galaxy, and now a new chapter in history was beginning. One written by many hands, from many worlds, working together in the light of shared knowledge and mutual respect. The end.